Good evening and welcome to World Mental Health Day 2025. I'm Rosalind Daniel Walker and partner with Adonna Davis serve as Eastern Area co-chairs of the Health and Human Services facet. Under the leadership of our area director, Dr. Lisa Larry Lomas. We're gathered here this evening for a conversation that is both critically important and deeply personal. In the time of crisis, be it natural disaster, a pandemic, or community unrest, the world tells us to be resilient. And as Black women, resilience is a language we know all too well. We're often the last line of defense for our families, our communities, and our workplaces. But who holds us when the ground shakes? Who tends to our spirits when the winds of catastrophes howl? Today, we shift the narrative from enduring to truly healing. We're honored to host a great panel of phenomenal African American women who are mental health professionals and emergency management professionals. They're not just experts in their fields, but they also understand our unique cultural and emotional landscapes. They're here to speak to us, not at us, about a vital topic: securing our mental and emotional well being by assuring access to care during catastrophes and emergencies. This is about equipping ourselves with knowledge, strategies, and resources that we can not only survive the storm, but emerge with our wholeness intact. Our moderator for this evening will be Dr. Lisa Larry Lomas, but let me just introduce you to our panelists. Our first panelist would be Dr. Cicely Horsham Braithwaite. She's a licensed psychologist and executive coach with a focus on maximizing the personal and professional development of executives and high potential employees. Dr. Brathwaite's practice specializes in helping executives increase their confidence, sharpen their leadership skills, and create a healthy, equitable, and sustainable team culture. Dr. Horsham Brathwaite's coaching draws from her own experiences as executive, previous executive leadership training, and professional theory. She specializes in turning around agencies and groups to increase productivity and satisfaction. As a former employee assistance professional, she frequently served as conference speakers. She's provided workshops to hundreds of people. She's provided workshops to hundreds of people. She earned her doctorate in counseling psychology from Temple University. She was a tenure track professor in the Masters in Counseling program at the University of Bridgeport, where she taught multicultural counseling skills. She's been featured in media outlets such as Essence, Entrepreneur, CNBC, Making It, Self, HuffPost, and the BBC World Service. She's the author of Better Daily Self Care Habits by Rockridge Press 2021 and Self Care Activities for Women. That's Dr. Cicely Horsham Braithwaite. Our next panelist is Dr. Kimberly Jeffries Leonard. She's a native of North Carolina, a BS graduate of Fayetteville State University, a master's graduate of North Carolina Central University, and a PhD graduate of Howard University. Dr. Kimberly Jeffries Leonard has completed multiple advanced scholarships, received numerous awards, recognitions, and honors in the field of public health and leadership. With over 40 years of experience in applied health, behavior medicine, research, training policy, and leadership, she's an expert in the field of health equity. With a lifelong commitment to public service, Dr. Jeffries Leonard is the president and CEO of Envision Consultant LLC, a boutique public health consulting firm. She's the chair of the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network Incorporated Board of Directors, and the first Black woman to hold that position. She served as the deputy director of the Center for Substance Abuse Treatment at the Substance Abuse and Mental Health and Service Administration of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. the Senior Deputy Director of the Addiction Prevention and Recovery Administration under the District of Columbia's Department of Health, Chief Operating Officer of the District of Columbia's Department of Health, and the Senior Technical Vice President and Senior Research Scientist at the Maya Foundation. She's also the Vice President of the Black Women's Agenda and served as the 17th National President of the Links Incorporated. That's Dr. Kimberly Jeffries Leonard. Donna Green. Every 8 minutes, someone is affected by a disaster. The Red Cross responds to more than 60,000 disasters per year. Our panelist, Donna Green, has global experience working domestically and internationally as she supports communities and individuals experiencing catastrophic events and disasters. In this role, she and her team were responsible for providing mental health relief to impacted individuals. She shared tools to help manage anger management, strengthen effective communications, and active listening. Domestically, Ms. Green and her team partner with mental health professionals to provide mental health relief to responders at Reagan National Airport during the January 2025 plane crash. Donna has been with the American Red Cross for 13 years and currently serves as the regional program manager. Our panels again tonight will be moderated by our own Dr. Lisa Lara Lomas. She has a mission to elevate friendships and empower families. Dr. Lomas is a non-stop, always ready, innovative, visionary, and creative leader. As the Eastern Area Director of the Links Incorporated, Dr. Lori Lamas leads more than 5,000 dynamic women on the East Coast of the United States and in the United Kingdom. Professionally, she owns and practices at Lisa Listens, demonstrating her commitment to accessible, high quality mental health care for all. With more than 30 years of experience in the field of psychology, Dr. Lori Lamas has counseled clients worldwide to develop healthy coping mechanisms and to help individuals achieve their goals and have fulfilling lives. She's an expert in human relations and development with a specialty in mood disorders, trauma, grief, life adjustment disorders, and couples. She's passionate and infectious about all that she does. Please join me in giving her your attention and your hearts, Dr. Lisa Larry Lomas.
Thank you. Pardon me. Good evening. Thank you so very much for that warm introduction. And thank you to our phenomenal panelists who have made time in their busy schedules to join us this evening. Thank you also for all who have registered and for those who are joining us live. Today is World Mental Health Day, October the 10th. World Mental Health Day is an international day dedicated to raising awareness to mental health and promoting mental well-being around the world. Each year the theme changes, but the day never does. So mark your calendars for next year. Bringing awareness to mental health is something I'm passionate about and speaks to my heart. But this year's theme, access to services, mental health in catastrophes and emergencies, draws global attention to supporting mental health amidst crises such as wars, natural disasters, pandemics, and other humanitarian emergencies. The theme emphasizes the urgent need to make mental health care accessible in situations where people face extreme stress, loss, and trauma. This theme calls for integrating mental health and psychosocial support as a core part of disaster recovery and preparedness efforts worldwide. Mental health support is vital not only for individuals affected by disasters, but also for the communities and the workers involved in these settings. Our esteemed panelists will speak to this, and the discussion is going to be rich. So let's get started. My first question is for Dr. Horsham Braithwaite. Dr. Horsham Braithwaite, in today's climate, many people are constantly operating at a high level of stress, anxiety, and depression. What are some of the observations you've made in your clients, and what happens to those individuals when a crisis occurs?
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Lowry Lomas, and to the members of the Eastern area of the Links Incorporated. I'm delighted to be here in honor of World Mental Health Day. So, in thinking about this question, I want to remind us of who we are. So many of us, including myself, have been raised to be responsible,
Mm,
to do our best, to work in service of not only ourselves and our families, but for our larger communities. Oftentimes, the women that I work with in my practice have learned not to have an off button. For as much as we can do, and sometimes we can feel like we can go beyond our
mm,
limits, we are human. And so, what I see in my practice is that we are experiencing the impact of ongoing stress and trauma that is unrelenting and unremitting. And that shows up for many of us
mhm,
uh, sometimes as other things. It shows up as, again, working harder,
mm,
believing that we are the problem
mm,
and not the situations around us that we are having a natural response to. And so, what that sometimes shows up as increased moodiness, anger, frustration, more bodily pain, uh, the pain relievers that people might use or the sleep medications to help them sleep are not as effective anymore. Sometimes it means that we make more mistakes or have accidents, feeling sleeplessness, worry, fear.
yeah.
And our bodies are organized to be able to help us to respond to stressors in the environment, to emergencies and crises because they do happen. And our bodies are meant also to be able to have periods of recovery. And so, what I see, and I think understandably so, is that this unrelenting stress helps to deepen the symptoms that people are presenting with. And that might look like, again, irritability, increased use of alcohol and other substances, and that the behaviors that they have used to cope no
Mm,
longer work. And so, usually, what happens is that we hit a wall, or that there is one thing that is the thing too much that we cannot, that we no longer have the resources to
mhm,
deal with. And sometimes, again, it looks like disturbances in our relationships with others. It looks like having challenges in our organizational meetings, or that we're unable to cope with the demands of being a member of our family. And what it sometimes means is that people have to put a pause and really have opportunities to find new ways to approach and cope with uh, their challenges. Sometimes that means that they must take time off. Sometimes that means that they may need to explore psychopharmacological interventions, medications to help them to manage their stressors. Sometimes it means a pausing in some responsibilities. And it's important to be able to notice these triggers, these situations, so that we recognize that what is the line that we have that makes it difficult for us to function, and what are the symptoms of us stepping over that line. So often our work is to really recognize what our current state of functioning is, how different it is from our previous functioning, and what strategies we need to put in place in order to recover and bounce back. When we do not, sometimes what we find is that the stressors that we currently are experiencing, uh, our reaction is out of proportion to those things. There's unaddressed stress, trauma from our past that has not been dealt with. And so sometimes that can lead us to no longer feel like ourselves. And hopefully we are in community where others can point out that they really see us and recognize that something is different and that more help is needed. And I look forward to continuing to unpack that tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. I definitely will be circling back, because recognizing it is one thing. Giving yourself permission to do something different is another. So thank you so much. Dr. Jeffries Leonard, you have an extensive background in public health equity, as well as leadership. You have participated and led organizations through catastrophes and emergencies, from disasters like Katrina and the 2019 COVID pandemic. As we strive to protect and promote our mental health and well-being, what are the biggest barriers Black women face in accessing mental health care during such daunting times?
Madam Area Director, thank you so much for having me on this, your webinar. I am very honored to be able to talk about this. I love the theme for the World Mental Health Day for 2025, mental health and humanitarian emergencies, because sometimes we don't really think that we're going to be in a humanitarian emergency until we are. And as you said, I think for most of us, the most recent one is COVID. But if we look around, the world is having humanitarian emergencies as we speak. And we are starting to see these same things on our soil. When you're, as Dr. Horsham Braithwaite said, when you're training for mental health issues, you look at things from a cultural perspective. You look at things as it relates to, what people will need in terms of treatment and prevention. But nothing really prepares you for what you see in an emergency until you're in it. In all of my training, from my undergraduate work in many different settings, working in different areas, substance abuse, HIV/AIDS, reentry, as it all relates to behavioral medicine, nothing prepared me for what I saw and what I heard when I went to New Orleans post-Katrina. What we don't think about is that all systems are gone, literally gone. So how you get your medication, how you get your treatment, how you get your services are dismantled because of the emergency that you're in, because of the disaster that you're in. And so when we think about disasters, this theme talks about natural disasters. It talks about conflicts. It talks about pandemics. It also emphasizes the need to make sure that we have equitable access to care. What we don't always think about is that not only is the system dismantled for those who need the care, the system is dismantled for the caregivers. And so when we are talking about people who are in need of services, we also have to be mindful that many of our people who are providing services also are recipients of services. And so the question becomes, what happens now? I know that as I said, the most recent thing that we think about is the pandemic. Think about the pandemic. When everything shut down, how did you get your medication? How did you get your treatment? How did you prevent? We had to pivot. We had to figure out, we had to stop and figure out what happens then. The pandemic was really a very unique situation. Where not only did we have to figure out how to manage in that, we had to stop and reframe and understand and then move forward, not only for those who needed services, but those who were providing those services. But when you talk about natural disasters, when you talk about conflicts, you don't always have the time to stop and make those decisions and make those changes. You are, how the young folks say, you in it, you in it. And so what has to happen is that we have to ensure that plans are made. And I'm sure our sister from our Red Cross is going to talk about this. You have to make sure that a plan is made. Very often you see people say, you got to have a go bag with several days of medication in that bag. If you have children, you need all of the resources that they need. But when we talk about mental health services, you, Madam Area Director, you are a clinician. Madam Cicely, you are a clinician. You are providing services. But how do people know how to get to you at this point? They're not going to be able to get to you at this point. So there's going to have to be an infrastructure, an entity such as a collective, a mental health collective or a Red Cross, who is going to be able to have to come to people to say, here is where we can get services. When I went down to New Orleans, I think I spent probably 6 months or more going down at least once or twice a month trying to determine what happened to people post-Katrina as it related to substance use disorders, as it related to mental health, as it related to other issues. I heard stories of those who were providing. I'll never forget the coroner at that time said that he was so worried about his own mental health as he stood in knee-deep water doing autopsy after autopsy after autopsy, that his soul was just dead. He was a musician, and he said, I am just now starting to pick up my instrument. And I had to determine where I could go to talk about what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, and who would understand this. And so when we are thinking about those who are going to be in need, who are going to be in most need, it is going to be us. It is going to be Black and brown people. It is going to be women. It is going to be us who have to take care of our families and who have to take care of our friends. And so we are going to have to make that plan. And one of the things that we never thought, I never thought in my lifetime I would see a conflict on my soil, but we are seeing conflicts on U.S. soil as we speak.
Yep.
And so traumatizing. And we don't know how that's going to escalate. We don't know where that is going. So as you all discussed, we are in this constant state of trauma and anxiety. But we, in the middle of that, we have to start making plans. What happens if there was just a disaster today in Tennessee? What happens if? Where do we go? Who is our go-to entity that will be there when we need these services, when we need medication for mental health, as Dr. Braithwaite said, pharmacological intervention? Where do we go to get that? Because we know that just one day of missing that can trigger other things. And when those things trigger other things, when you're in a high state of alert because of these kinds of disasters, because of these kinds of emergencies, those things present in different ways, and it puts us at risk. And so for me, as based on the things that I've seen and based on what I pray does not come in our lifetime, the best thing that we can do is to make a plan and make sure that we are able to access services, because access is going to be the biggest issue, equitable access for Black women and our families and our communities.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. Let's bring in our third panelist to join this very rich discussion. Ms. Green, Ms. Green, as a leader in the emergency management industry, American Red Cross, you have managed local, national, and international emergencies. In emergency situations, physical care of individual is paramount, but so is mental health. The care is equally as critical. What structures or systemic barriers most limit access to mental health care for Black communities during disasters? And what can public health systems do differently?
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
One of the things that we see going out on disasters is discrimination. And as the American Red Cross, we advocate for all who are suffering. And so we advocate to help all citizens that are in need, no matter what the level is.
Mhm.
And so we also have mental health teams that go out on disasters to provide counseling. We also provide medication management and referrals directly in shelters and community centers. And we rely on community partners to continue to support when we leave. We also follow up with clients to stay connected, and that's all clients. If we see that a client is needing additional help and we leave the area because all the needs are met that we provide on site, we still follow up with those clients. And we advocate, because that is so important. And we see that a lot, especially in certain areas in America during disasters. And so one of the things that we want to let everyone on this call know is if you see someone that is not receiving what they need, reach out to those partners that provide that assistance, or grab that person's hand and take them to get the assistance that they need. Because sometimes people don't know. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so you mentioned advocating and access. So did Dr. Jeffries Leonard. So did Dr. Horsham Braithwaite. And so as we're advocating and people are gaining access, how important is it for the people that we work with to have cultural competence? Dr. Braithwaite, Horsham Braithwaite, do you like to answer that?
Yes, I think it's paramount. And so one of the things that time and time again that we see is that social support and community are protective factors in times of crisis and times outside of crisis. And in thinking about interventions, one can do more harm than help if your interventions are not grounded in cultural understanding and respect. In Zimbabwe, there is a program called the Grandmother's Bench, where grandmothers in areas where there is a mental health shortage sit on a bench, and individuals can come and share their story.
Oh my goodness.
Grandmothers, yeah.
No.
And they have found that the intervention, the symptoms of those who meet with the grandmothers are on par with those of us who've spent lots of time on training.
We're about to be without a job, right?
And so what I would say is that with cultural competence comes respect, that people have different ways of seeing the world, understanding themselves, that builds upon their resilience. And when we do not recognize that and come as though we know best, we don't give our best.
Wow, that's powerful. Ms. Green, with the workers at Red Cross, are there classes, or how do you measure and make sure that they are culturally competent? Is there a focus on that?
Yes, we have training through the Red Cross before our volunteers go out on a disaster. There are a series of trainings through our platform, and they are trained. They have tests that they take. We actually have mental health professionals who also have to go through the training as well on the mental health side, so that they can provide the resources and have the knowledge of what Red Cross does. Because in each organization, there is a culture. And for us, we are neutral. And so we learn about cultural differences. We also have linguists that speak different languages, because in the community we have, especially in this area, we have lots of folks from all over the world. And so those interpreters are imperative so that we can be able to communicate effectively, and that training through the Red Cross is paramount.
Thank you. Dr. Jeffries Leonard, with your work with Katrina, and you were coming in from out of state, did they bring in other workers, mental health workers, to support the staff that was there, the boots on the ground?
They did bring in staff to support the boots on the ground, but you have to realize that in times of disaster, and I think that's where the Red Cross and other entities who understand what disasters look like is so important. I think the challenge with Katrina was that at that level, I don't think anybody had really, the hurricane was over. Think about that. The hurricane was over. Everybody was good. And then the levees broke. And so I don't think anybody was really prepared for what that actually looked like, and actually prepared for all of the things that came out of managing that disaster. I know Dr. Horsham Braithwaite talked about the whole concept around culturally competent treatment. That is really critical, because it wasn't until General Honore came and said, put the guns down, because we have a traumatized community here. And this is not how we're going to approach them, that we saw something different. But the fact that it did take time for people to be able to be brought in to support those who were providing those services. They had to determine what was in place, what was not in place, who was available, who was ready, not only in New Orleans and the area, but who can we bring in to support, and what is it that they need? And when we look at disasters, natural disasters, we've had some that we've seen, Asheville, North Carolina, the fires in California. I think we can all start ticking off, the pandemic. We're still managing the trauma from the pandemic and trying to manage those who are supporting, but people were brought in to support. There were, I think, and I think Donna, the Red Cross was a part of that response to support those who were providing care. At that time, there were federal resources, FEMA. When I was going down, months and months and months later, they were still in trailers working. It took them a very long time to come out of trailers to be able to build the infrastructure. Entities like SAMHSA, CDC, and others. The challenge is, I want to make sure I say this appropriately. The challenge is, you don't know what resources will be available in the
I was just
in
thinking that.
some of these things. So what we know, what is tried and true, the Red Cross, other entities such as that. Some of the things that we've been used to, that we've relied upon based on historic and historical disasters may not necessarily be in place. States may not have resources to be able to support these disasters. We don't know what our forces will be used for in terms of disaster support. And so I think that it is incumbent upon us to be able to ensure that we understand the role of entities like the Red Cross, so that we can make sure that those who are providing support get the support they need. Those who need the support get the support they need.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to pause quickly to see if we have any questions. I want to make sure I give our audience an opportunity to weigh in on this discussion. Any questions?
No questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. So
I'd like to piggyback on what Dr. Jeffries Leonard just said. Earlier, she spoke about collectives, mental health practitioner collectives, opportunities to access support, and that, quite frankly, we do not know the resources that will be available to us now or in the future. And so I do think that one of the ways that a catastrophe can then become traumatic for someone, for a group of people, is that there are things outside of our control that feel unbearable and untenable. And one of the things that what we can do to prepare ourselves for the inevitability that something could happen that feels out of our control is to do what is within our sphere of control. And that includes getting clear within your community, your circle, your chapters of who has what skills and resources that can be useful for us to be able to support ourselves and our communities in lieu of the resources that we have come to expect are part of our right as citizens. Part of that preparation can not only be very psychologically soothing, but it also is part of our go bag system for how we look out for one another as those who came before us looked out for one another. That was part of the bedrock that allows us to have many of the freedoms that we have become accustomed to, even in this time of transition.
Madam, can I say something? I love that, Dr. Horsham. I love that. And it's almost as though at this time, in this place, in this moment, we need to start doing for ourselves. So we have a lot of organizations that, ABPSI, Association of Black Psychologists. It may be necessary to forge a partnership with them to make sure that that network and that collective is in place if we need that. The National Pharmaceutical Association, to ensure that, how are medications going to be received if people need them? The National Medical Association. Yeah. I mean, we have such a rich collective of entities, and maybe now is the time for us to start looking at how we are able to support our own.
That's a really good point. Thank you. Donna, with the Red Cross, do you partner with those organizations?
Yes, we do. And we actually partner with the local emergency management agencies, and we actually do drills to be prepared for disasters. And what I would like to say about that is when there is a natural disaster, the first agency that is on the ground is your local government agency. And they actually will reach out to Red Cross and request the Red Cross to come in and help. Once we come in, we are helping those immediate needs. We hand everything over in a perfect world to FEMA, depending on the disaster, because like Dr. Jeffries Leonard said, FEMA provides the trailers for long-term housing until rebuilding can happen. And so with the way of the world right now, we don't know who's going to take care of that. And that is needed. The housing of people and how we look at how that is taken care of moving forward. Because that is so important, that long-term housing, temporary housing until people can get back on their feet.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we run short on time, I want to circle back to something that Dr. Horsham Braithwaite kind of referenced regarding people hitting a wall. As professionals on the front line, we are constantly inundated with caring for others individually and within communities. How are you caring for yourselves?
Well, I'll start. I watch a whole lot of Hallmark. No, but very seriously, it gets to a point where it is too difficult to watch the news, the things that are not necessarily on the news but come up on social media, where the things that are not necessarily being shown but are still happening. I mean, that is traumatic for anybody who I know has seen those things. Reading, I mean, it has just become very difficult. And for me, that level of escapism allows me to take a little bit of time away and look at something that is happy. And I know the outcome will be happy.
Yeah.
Then, get back in it and start to, continue to determine, how we will be managing and addressing this.
Escaping.
Escapism.
I think that's amazing. So for you, it's Hallmark. For somebody else, it might be Housewives.
I'm a Hallmark watcher too.
One of the things though means, so if you're doing that, then you're not completely inundated constantly. So taking a step away is critically important. I'm an information junkie. And so I used to have the news on all the time. And I can't do that anymore. I have to take it in smaller doses, and I have to control what I consume and when and how I consume it. So Hallmark, Housewives, or Big Brother. I was a Big Brother fan too. Dr. Horsham Braithwaite, what about you?
Three things that I'm doing, and I will tell you, this week they're working. Last week they were not. So let me be honest.
That's a really good point.
So I have just come off of several days in the company of other Black women, and that has added fuel to my tank that was on empty. In my life, I've had a variety of people supporting me, whether it's a therapist, a coach, a therapist and a coach. Right now, I have a coach who is a psychologist like me, and I find that to be helpful. The third thing that I'm doing is that I am reading the history of those who came before and what strategies they engaged in to care for community and themselves, and then bad fiction.
I love that.
So there's a fourth. But reading the stories and strategies is really grounding me.
Yeah, I talk about having a bag of tricks. And so if you have a bag, then when you pull one out and that's not quite hitting it on that day, then you have something else that you can turn to. Thank you. I have one last question that I would like each of you to please answer. If you could leave us with one call to action for Black women to strengthen access to mental health support in their cities, what would it be? Dr. Jeffries Leonard.
I'm going to tell you, vote. I'm going to say you need to vote. I'm going to say that you need to encourage everybody that you can to vote. Look at the policies that are being presented. Who's voting for those things that are helping your communities? Services need to be covered so that we can afford to have them. Treatment, there needs to be access. All of these things kind of, start at the ballot box. So at every election, you don't think it matters when it comes to emergencies and disaster preparedness and mental health services, but it does. Because in Texas, when the floods came, there were lapses in the emergency notification. And that's why those children drowned, because nobody knew. But that came from who was in government and who provided funds for those things and things to be updated. So at every election, we need to make sure that we are exercising the right to vote, because people died for us to have that right to vote. People fought long and hard for us to have that right to vote. I'll never forget at the legislative luncheon, John Lewis said, we have to protect this for generations yet unborn. And we do. And so I would say my one thing is, well, it's two. Encourage everyone to be registered and to vote, and make sure you vote.
Thank you. Thank you. And just adding to that, all voting is local. Don't just vote for the national president. Know that you're voting for your judges also.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Green.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Use your resources and consider volunteering. Volunteering is therapy. When you help someone, it makes you feel good.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, advocacy is a big one. So those who are watching, stay tuned. We will talk more about that throughout this year. Thank you so much. Using your voice. And Dr. Horsham Braithwaite.
I would add to those really wonderful suggestions. Know your local electeds. That's a takeaway that I'm bringing to myself from what I've heard from this panel tonight, that I don't engage. And so to know our electeds and have relationship with them, regardless of what side of the aisle they represent us. And I'd also add, so often we move as individuals and we come from collectivist cultures. And sometimes that individuality allows us to go get help and not tell anyone. So, but when we are open that we ourselves have gotten support or are getting support, it lowers the stigma for our sisters and brothers and our family members. And so when we lower the stigma, it opens the road for other people to get the support that they might very well need.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One of my takeaways from this discussion is community. We need each other, and we need to nurture and build our community. And I would also like to say, everybody needs a therapist, because we're all operating at a high level. And if you're already working on it, when life happens, because it'll look different for all of us, but it will happen, then you have your foundation shored up. And don't see a therapist that doesn't have a therapist. Let me also say that. So thank you so much to our panel. You were amazing. This conversation was way too short. We should have had it be 90 minutes. And this should be a series. So if I call you again, please answer the phone. Don't not pick up. This was absolutely wonderful. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Thank you for sharing your heart with us today. And we very much appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a rich and informative and engaging conversation. We hope you have embraced the learnings and supportive considerations during our time together. We want to thank our illustrious moderator, Dr. Lisa Lowry Lomas, and esteemed panel, Dr. Kimberly Jeffries Leonard, Dr. Cecily Horsham Brathwaite, and Ms. Donna Green for their time, contributions, and educational support and efforts to this informative webinar. We also want to thank you, our global community. Thank you to my delightful co-chair, Rosalind Daniel Walker, for your leadership and collaboration, and our team who helped make this webinar possible. Lastly, thank you to all who joined us this evening. God bless us all, and good night.